There's never a dull moment when it comes to Minnesota sports. Whether it's positive or negative,
the Yankees have swept the Twins.
Minnesota Sports Chat has you covered. Talking nothing but Minnesota sports all year long. It's time now for the soon-to-be award-winning, if only in his own mind, Minnesota Sports Chat with your host, Ross Brendel.
Well, that would be me. Welcome inside edition number 236 of the soon-to-be award-winning Minnesota Sports Chat, presented by my friends at Beans Coffee Company. It has been a bit, but today we step away from Gophers football and back into Minnesota sports as a whole with my guy, SKOR North's Judd Zulgad. As you all know by now, you can hear him on many, if not all, the SKOR North podcasts, including Minnesota Sports with Mackie and Judd, Judd's Hockey Show, Purple Daily. You can now find his writings and musings as well on his Substack, juddzulgad.substack.com. Judd Zulgad, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you? Thanks for having me back on.
I can't complain. I appreciate you doing this. I'm in a different studio today. The well-astute and people who pay attention will all but certainly notice if you listen to anything SKOR North related, which almost all of my quote-unquote following does. They will know I'm in the SKOR North studio today. I tried to blur it as much as possible.
It's blurry behind you, though.
Yeah, I set that up. I tried to make it look a little incognito. The studio I normally use for this is under some maintenance. So the last few days I've been hanging out in here, which is fine. A lot of memories in this studio, Judd, going back to the early 2010s, 11s.
Yeah, that studio's been around a long time. That's all I got to say about the studio, but it's been around a long time.
Before we talk Minnesota sports, I'm going to throw you just a quick Law and Order question because this always comes up when you and I talk.
Yeah.
And I know you have not, at least at last check. I think we're in episode 4. Maybe we've had 3 this season.
I don't even know. I've been watching.
You have yet to watch. Are you done with the new reincarnate of Law and Order, or will you get to it when your time allows?
I might binge it at some point if I have downtime. Like I just with the way things are now, like streamed on Peacock. Yep. You just don't need to make time to watch it. I have not watched anything since Jack McCoy left. So but I mean, I originally got into the show by binging it. Well, not binging it, but it used to be on at when I would get home from work at the Star Tribune back in the early 90s. A&E, which was the first to rerun it, had it like 2 a.m. or 1 a.m. So like, I'm no stranger to the reruns. It's because I don't mind the Cops now. I actually like the Cops. The DA Tony Goldwyn, right, is pretty good. Yep. I'm not a big fan of what's his face, who's the old Jack McCoy, the ADA. I just don't find those two to be great. But anyway, yeah, I might binge it, but so far I have instead watched other things on Thursday nights, including football.
Well, we've lost Cameron Manheim, and she has been replaced by Maura Tierney, who I think is doing a pretty nice job.
I like Maura Tierney. Yeah,
she's great.
Radio.
Is it Tierney? Is that how it's pronounced? Is it Tierney?
Oh, I don't even know. Maura Tierney?
Yeah,
Tierney?
something like that. She's great in news radio, great in ER. She's a great actress. So.
Yep.
All right, that gets the Law and Order talk out of the way. Let's get to the A topic and start with the Minnesota Vikings. You and I just recorded an episode of Purple Access with Chip Scoggins, and you covered on a lot that I was going to ask you. So I kind of know your answers, but for this audience, I'm still going to ask you. Minnesota Vikings, in a matter of 5 days, 4.5 days, they lose 2 games. They go from first place to third place, a Hail Mary away from being tied for last place. What is your worry level with the Minnesota Vikings right now? If you had to give it a 1 to 10, what is it, and why would you assign that number to it?
Oh boy, it'd be low. It'd be about a 3, maybe, or 2. I like here. Well, here's the thing. That
Same here, by the way. Same here.
They won 5 games. The Rams game I didn't like. The Detroit game was actually, I thought, a really fun game as a football fan. I was disappointed they lost, but I mean, I also didn't think that they did something atrociously. I mean, they've got penalty problems. There are things that they can clean up, but it goes back to what the expectations were. So it's very low. It's very low because I don't. I mean, the conference is wide open. They have an opportunity here. I still think that Dan Campbell, when you get to the playoffs, just like he did against the 49ers in the conference championship, could do something dumb. But Detroit's the best team in the conference, if not the entire league. After that, it's a hodgepodge. So I think the Vikings have opportunity here. I don't want to say that they don't. But, yeah, as far as worry, if they lose to the Colts and look bad, ask me then, because I'm just not that worried yet.
Yeah, that's exactly where I'm at. I think you can explain away, even though nobody likes to, I think you can explain away the 2 losses. I'd be far more concerned if they fall to 5-3. I think if you win 2 of the next 3, Judd, and you're 7-3, or you win all 3 against teams I think you'll probably be favored against, Colts at home, at Tennessee, at Jacksonville. If you win 2 of those 3 to get to 7-3, or all 3 of those and you're 8-2 heading to Soldier Field, I don't want to say it's house money because you always want to defeat divisional opponents. But if you're 8-4 after 12 games, I don't know. I know expectations can change throughout a season, but I don't know how any realistic Vikings fan going into this year could be upset with give or take an 8-4 record at that point in the season, albeit at 8-4, Judd, to call a spade, you're probably cooked from winning the division because the Lions are probably 10-2-ish.
Yep.
But that's okay. Like, I want to win the division too. You always want to win a Super Bowl every year, but that's not always realistic. And I don't think this team is capable of doing that, regardless of if they won the division or not. So, long story short, I really don't understand a lot of the panic that some people have. I'm not saying you and I do, but I think they're still in a fine spot. If you, again, 5-2, I think everybody would have taken that. Extrapolate that out to 8-4 about a month and a half from now. I don't really know what we could be complaining about.
I think fans were annoyed by the Rams game. And look, there is going to be
justifiably so.
There's going to be very interesting. This is a little bit of a referendum on O'Connell as far as coaching goes as well. Like, they've got to clean up the penalties. Yep. That's not they're not excusable, and that comes down to a lot of things, including coaching. So, like, this is a very good time to make sure that your act is together for 2025 when JJ McCarthy, not Sam Darnold, is going to be your quarterback. So yeah, there's like, I told Phil this. They've raised expectations on themselves. Good for them. So I get the annoyance with the Rams game. You know, these next 4 games, which go Colts, Jacksonville, Tennessee, and then I forget
and Chicago at the end. Yeah.
Well, but I mean, you know, you've got an opportunity here. I mean, Jacksonville's not good. Tennessee's not good. You've got an opportunity to make some hay. You know, if you beat the Lions, that would have been a big boy win. The San Francisco win at the time was a big boy win. Heck, I think Houston was as well. But, you know, you can, in my opinion, you can judge these games coming up. They're really eye test games.
Yes. Yep.
You know, that's what I'm going on. How prepared is this team to go into, because they did open the window before we expected. How prepared are they to go into now what should be here very quickly a Super Bowl window of sorts? And by preparation, I mean you cut out dumb penalties. You cut out fumbles. You cut out the mistakes that when you get to the postseason will cost you. That's my question. How do the games look? The Rams game looked bad. I did not think Detroit looked bad.
Another football team in town, Judd. I don't want to oversell what they're doing because it's middle of Big Ten football. But I'll be honest, I'm mildly impressed what the Gophers have done the last month, albeit they beat 2 teams out of Los Angeles that might not be any good. But
Sure.
then to take 2 weeks, come back and throttle a Maryland team, which every year has top 20 talent. They have great recruiting classes every year, but never seem to do anything with it. You know, the fact that you lose that game to North Carolina to start the year, they should have won that game. I've talked about that numerous times. Of all their losses, that's the only one that really bums me out. Tough to be upset about Michigan and not getting an onside kick call when you buried yourself 21-0 early. Iowa ran you off the field in the second half. So those 2 losses don't bug me.
Right.
The North Carolina one's kind of annoying, but you lose 2 conference games to start the year, then you bounce back and win 3 in a row. I'm mildly impressed by that. I think we'll know a lot more about 2:30, 3 o'clock on Saturday at Illinois. But I'll give the coach credit here. This looks like a team that's going to find a way to win at least 6 games, maybe 7. And it's been fairly entertaining because it's been different multiple times this year, Judd. They come out and they're slinging the ball all around the field like they did against Maryland this past Saturday. So, again, I don't want to get overexcited about it. I mean, at best, what would they finish? 8-4, probably 7-5. But it has been fun to see. Sorry about that.
What was that?
I think I hit something on accident, so my
Wow.
apologies on that. But I'm mildly intrigued by what we've seen from the Gopher football team the last few weeks.
Yeah, it's interesting. So I have a bunch of different thoughts about this. One is Max Brosmer's looked really good.
Yes, he has.
Too bad he's gone immediately.
I know.
And he didn't get off to this great start. So it's not like you get this 1 year of, oh my God, this quarterback could take you to the college football playoff now. It's sort of like, okay, he eased in. I wonder, behind the scenes, I've not seen or heard or read this, but knowing what PJ Fleck's philosophy is, it feels like either Fleck or OC Greg Harbaugh, correct? Not Harbaugh,
Yep.
Harbaugh. Somebody has decided we got to pass more, and they did, which I like to see a lot. All of this being said, though, the North Carolina loss, a really bad loss. I don't know that I really care that much because of this, unless you're going to do what Indiana is doing, right?
Yep.
Does it matter? Like you're going to go
No. No.
Again, I'll go back to when they were struggling and people were like, Flex got to go. Unless you're going to go undefeated and make a run, like one loss and make a run at a playoff spot. I'll go back to what I keep saying. And look, I mean, it's been fun of late, more fun when you win than when you lose, but enjoy. If you're a Gopher football fan, just enjoy your seasons.
Yep. 100%. So I'll ask you this really quickly. I talk about this with our mutual buddy Daniel House on occasion. So if this current playoff system existed in 2019, the Gophers likely would have been or could have been one of the last teams into the playoffs in 2019. You brought up Indiana, who had an interesting approach to the transfer portal. I don't know if you've looked at Indiana's schedule, Judd. They might only lose one game to Ohio State. So they could be 10-2, 11-1. They might go to the college football playoff. I would argue, albeit perhaps it's watered down, this year is, I think, more wide open than most. I think Gopher football fans should be excited by a 12-team playoff and also look at what Indiana can do or is doing.
Yeah.
Recent past to what the Gophers have done. It's not out of the question that at some point in this system, I'm not saying it'll happen, but it's not out of the question that Minnesota could get to a college football playoff when you look at a team like Indiana that as of Monday, Judd, has a 69% chance at making the college football playoff.
Yeah, and I mean, that coach, what is it, Kirk Cignetta?
Kirk Cinetti. Google him.
Cinetti. Yeah, no, he's, I mean...
That's his quote, Judd. Google me.
Because they said, what makes you think that you can change this? He said, I win, Google me. And it's, look, I mean, they've done a great job. Here's my thing with what you just said, though. Because, I mean, we've all watched Gopher football for a long, long time. I'll believe it when I see it. Like, could they? Yeah. Should they have won the Big Ten West multiple times?
Yes.
So, like, I can't. That's what I'm saying is I absolutely positively refuse to buy in because, and like 2019 was a lot of fun. It was a one-off. Now here's their problem though, because I just pulled up the 2019 season. So you lost in your last 3 games, undefeated, 9-0, 6-0.
Yep.
Lost to Iowa, beat Northwestern, lost that college game day to Wisconsin.
Yep.
So do you get into a 12-team playoff with 2 Big Ten losses?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean,
I have no idea either.
They probably would not have, but my point for argument's sake is that they went into the final week of the season.
And the Wisconsin loss drove me crazy.
Yeah, and it was a bad loss.
38-17
at home.
And I believe you scored first. Anyway, it's why I'm not on the Fire Fleck thing. I just don't see a point to it.
I think PJ will leave before he gets fired.
Well,
At some point,
he might try and ride this off. Who knows? Well, actually, I don't think he can from a contractual standpoint. But yes, I could see that.
All right, let's do this. Let me thank Beans Coffee Company, who's been supporting Minnesota Sports Chat now for over 2 years. Yeah,
Can
do
I
you
get
need
some
some?
more beans? Yeah.
Okay, what do you want? Look it up. Tell me which one you want.
Okay. All right.
Do what I'm going to ask the listeners to do, Judd. Go to coffeebybeans.com.
Okay.
I know that once you're there, and I'm being serious about this coffee is fantastic. You'll see something that you want to try out. Judd's tried it, and as you just heard, he loves it. With roasts and blends for everybody's palate, I know you'll find something delightful and tasty that meets your coffee drinking standards. It truly is the best small batch, locally roasted coffee you'll ever try, and it is available at coffeebybeans.com. Use the promo code SPORTSCHAT to save at checkout. That's coffeebybeans.com. Promo code SPORTSCHAT. And a reminder, Beans Coffee Company ships for free on all orders of $35 or more. Coffeebybeans.com. Promo code SPORTSCHAT. Judd, I love the Mikado and the Perfectus
That's just going
blend.
to tell you that. Because you got me that last time. Put me down for the Mikado again.
Okay, the Mikado's great. Do you need grinded or whole bean?
Oh, no, I grind my coffee.
Yeah, me too. Me too. Real coffee drinkers grind
Get
their
up
coffee.
at 6, feed the dog, and then I grind that coffee.
We're always grinding, Judd. Always grinding. Winter sports. Do you want to start with the Wild or the Timberwolves? We'll check these off really quickly.
It's up to you. It's your show.
Okay, let's do Wild. How sustainable is this start? As we record this, they're 6-1-2. I don't believe it, but are there things that you would see that I don't see, or maybe the hope, I think, at the beginning of the year from Wild people, Judd, correct me if I'm wrong. Oh, maybe we can sneak into the playoffs, get one of those last playoff spots, which I would argue, what's the point for long-term growth of the franchise? But the other side of that is I think you do, if you want to retain Kirill Kaprizov for long-term, you want to show him that you're capable of winning. So I guess I look at this two ways. I hope this start is sustainable because it would be fun if they could go to the playoffs and maybe win a series and see what they could do past that. The other side of me says, yeah, I don't really believe it because I don't think the roster's all that good. But am I wrong on that?
It's better than you think. It's better than I thought. And cheap plug, I just did a Judd's hockey show that should be dropping on the SKOR North feed with AJ asking this exact question. Are you buying what they're selling? Because in
Love that.
9 games, they're 6-1-2, and they are better than anybody expected. They talked about the fact that a year ago their start was awful. It was. They had to get off to a better start, but it's 9 games in, and I mean, we've been led down this path before, and I am very reluctant to give them my heart, having done that before, and it's been broken. It's been crushed. So anyway, Kaprizov is off to an unbelievable start. I think he has, something like 18 points.
Yeah, I saw it this morning, actually.
He is no longer, he was
head.
tied with Mark Stone of Vegas going into last night's games for first place in points in the National Hockey League. He's no longer in there. But anyway, he's been fantastic. I guess here are my 2 questions. Goaltending. Philip Gustafsson was unbelievable until they played Philadelphia on Saturday. The whole team played poorly. He played poorly. But he doesn't have a track record where you could say for sure that he's going to be great. Marc-Andre Fleury. Love watching him. The thing in Pittsburgh on Tuesday, his farewell in Pittsburgh was phenomenal. He's a Hall of Famer. I'm glad he's back. Cool. It's a privilege to get to watch that as a hockey fan. It's a privilege to get to watch a swan song. But do I think that they have the goaltending to sustain what they've started? Don't know on that one. That's a concern. The other one is the penalty kill. It's still awful. And you're not going to, your power play is really good right now, but power plays can come and go. They can slump. Penalty killing, a slump is a fundamental problem with either personnel, with strategy. Now, the thing with the strategy is the scheme of the penalty kill was completely changed because they dumped old friend Darby Hendrickson for Jack Capuano, the former Islander coach. So there are things that point to, I don't know if they can sustain this. Jared Spurgeon, we don't know how much he can play. Played a couple of games, came out because of his because of his in-season surgeries last year. So there's a lot of question marks here, but I do like the fact that they had a tougher training camp, that they earmarked the fact that they had to get off to a better start that they did, and that they also blew through a 7-game road trip, which is ridiculous this early in the season, in great shape. So I'm not going to crap on them, but I am saying there is a reluctance to, much like with you, there's a reluctance to say this is a fully different team until I see far more.
Very traditional sports-like question. I'll do it in my big-time East Coast radio voice. Are the Minnesota Golden Gophers peaking too early, Judd Zulgad? That was not very East Coast. I was just trying to put a little bit of bravado
in hockey?
behind it. Yeah, go for hockey. Are they?
No, I think
they
they're
peaking
legit.
too early, or is this team as damn good as they appear to be?
No, so I've actually been to a couple of games. I went to the game last Friday. Cheap plug on that. I actually did a column for our friends at Minnesota Hockey Magazine on the Gophers play. Went to the game on Saturday. They're good. They're really good. Motzko was bragging about this, talking them up big time, which really surprised me before the season. But now that I'm seeing them, here's why I think they're good. One, they always have skill. That's not news. That's not like, oh, they've got more skill than ever. No, they probably don't. But to a man, Motzko on down, they all talk about the fact that everybody basically stuck around this summer and bonded and worked out. I have a feeling, I'm not going to cast any stones at former teams, but I've seen this before. And I think, a large part of Gopher hockey at times is based on that. It's based on, because everyone has talent now. Like college hockey's filled with talent. And Gophers always have top-end talent. But the question is, can top-end talent then actually grind? Can they work hard? Can they do the little things that you need to do to win games?
I feel like this team has feistiness.
I'm just saying they feel like a team. They don't feel like a bunch of all-stars. And there's a lot of guys, they literally don't have, there's no real fourth line. Their fourth line has been one of their best lines all year and scores a ton.
Do me one favor, because the Gophers should not have a loss on their record. Talk to the people that you know. Fix college overtime. It's the dumbest thing in all of sports. College hockey overtime. Oh. The fact you can lose a game in overtime, legitimately lose a game in the standings because you lost 3-on-3, is about the stupidest thing I think I've ever heard of.
But they don't have. But they lost their loss is a non-conference loss to Nebraska.
Correct.
Omaha in Las Vegas, when the goaltender for Nebraska Omaha stood on his head.
Stood on his head. Yep. Yeah. The Gophers outshot him by 40 shots.
Yeah, it was
and
nuts.
Still lost.
But
so
I think they're legit.
I'm not ripping them for that. I just hate that you can lose a game like that, especially in college hockey. Okay, very quickly on the Minnesota Timberwolves. I think they actually play a game tonight before this episode drops. But
no, they play Friday night, Denver.
Is it tomorrow? Okay, Friday night. Okay,
late start.
I thought that was tonight against Denver. Okay, so we can talk about it this way, or I could phrase it this way. I don't think being 2-2 at this point is a bad thing. I think the goal in November and December is just not to bury yourself while you're trying to figure things out. I think this roster will be just fine if they stay healthy. I think they'll be fine.
Oh, I agree completely. Well, and plus, I continue to harp on this. You made a major change to your team chemistry very late.
Yeah, 2 days before the season.
DiVincenzo has not played well yet, and he's not shooting threes well yet, but his history screams that he will. Julius Randle's still trying to find his way. Cat's gone from Ant, so Ant's trying to find his way without Cat. No, but he's fine. I mean, he scored 24 points first quarter against Dallas. It wasn't great after that. But yeah, I'm with you completely. This is going to take at least 20 games. I'm not saying that you should be bad. You should win plenty of games. But this is going to take 20 games. This is not the finished product.
Okay, here's a quick one for you on the way out the door. I know you guys have talked about this, but do you have any idea? Do you want to wager, put a % chance? Who do you think the leader in the clubhouse, not for the Minnesota Timberwolves, that'll be decided in the courts who owns the Minnesota Timberwolves, who's going to wind up with the Minnesota Twins in the long run? Do you have any idea?
No idea. I think it's going to be outside I think it's outside the state, though. I don't think.
That's my guess, too.
We used to fear, and with the North Stars, it came true, I guess, to a certain degree, although I think Norm Green did move here. Absentee ownership when I was a kid. It was a 4-letter word, absentee. The Guns, who are from Cleveland, on the North Stars. What's going to happen? But with the way the travel is now, and with how much these teams cost, and all of the factors, I feel like it's not a big deal. I feel like the last time we tried to make it something was when the Wilfs bought the Vikings in 2005.
Yeah.
And, the team went nowhere. They got what they wanted.
The Twins aren't moving. They have one of the best stadiums in Major League Baseball, and they're locked in. Yeah, they're not going anywhere.
And if they weren't locked in, baseball would not let them move. But I don't think it's going to be inside the state, nor do I think it has to be. But the difference now is, when Carl Pohlad bought the Twins for $44 million, I think in '84. That was a lot back then. But now these are billion-dollar purchases. So I think whoever buys the Twins comes from outside the state. And look, if we want to talk about a team moving eventually, keep your focus on the Wolves, man. They got to get a new building. And I know that their goal is to build it themselves. Famous last words, though, because we're not there yet. But, I mean, you're right. The Twins are going nowhere. I'm not concerned. For those who say, well, the Pohlads are selling and you're all glad, but the devil you don't know, well, I would rather take that chance. Because, again, the person cannot move the team. There is no way to get them out of here. Not to mention the fact that baseball doesn't have enough, Vegas is supposed to get the A's. They don't really want the A's. So I have no concerns about the Twins thing. And I just, every time, Roscoe, that I go into Target Center, I'm reminded of the fact this building is ancient now. Ancient.
A word I stole from my buddy. It's very drab. There's nothing really exciting about going into Target Center. My hope, Judd, on the A's is that about 2 years into the Sacramento thing, they somehow get a deal done with Oakland and they wind up back in Oakland in a new stadium. Because there are just some teams, Judd, that should just be where they are. I would even say the same thing about the Tampa Bay Rays at this point. They haven't won a World Series, but they've been to 2 in a very small franchise history. I think it's 2. They've been to 2, right? Or is it only 1? I think it's 2.
I thought
they lost to the Phillies, and didn't they lose to somebody else? Okay, but anyways, I wouldn't move that team either. I'm glad they're getting a new stadium. I hate ripping teams away from fan bases. It's just it's very despicable. So I hope something happens where the A's go back. And by the way, another thing, Judd, very quickly here in closing, Alex Kirilloff retired today. Yeah. I wish nothing but the best for that guy. Baseball broke his body. That guy at one point was going to be a great player.
Well,
and I hope he finds health and happiness outside of playing baseball. I just wish him nothing but the best.
I'm looking this up. I think you're right. AL pennants, 08, Phillies, in 2020, the Snell game.
Okay. Oh, okay. Yes. Okay. So it was
the Snell
2.
Game.
I don't want to take a team out of Tampa that's been there for 28 years and been to 2 World Series. And they're not, by the way. But at one point, that was the threat. And I thought that was dumb. Same with the Marlins. The Marlins had won 2 World Series, and we were talking about them leaving.
Well, because they strip them down. And in that case, they stripped him down how many times? Wayne Huizenga did it, the next guy. But so the A's are an interesting case, though, because they have been vagabonds for their entire history.
Yes, they have.
Philadelphia to Kansas City to Oakland, now to Sacramento. I would love to see John Fisher, though, sell that team, because I hope Vegas basically says, you know what, on second thought, buzz off.
Yeah, we don't need you.
I don't know if Vegas is a great place for baseball. It's great. It deserves basketball. I mean, an NBA team's just going to be a hit there. Hockey has been wildly successful. The Raiders are great because visiting fans flood the place. But I mean, baseball, 81 home games in that
heat
on the Strip. I mean, people aren't going to come in to see baseball. Tourists aren't. Now, if they're there, they might go, right? But like football, people plan. I mean, heck, Wild fans plan trips. I mean, Twins fans might, but it's summer heat there. I would love to see John Fisher be told by Vegas, buzz off. We're not going to build you a stadium or help you, and then for him to sell it. And then for Oakland to get its act together, this is the problem. Oakland would have to build a stadium or at least help. And as you know, in California, there ain't no real help coming. Like the Giant Stadium, privately funded. The Golden State Warriors Arena in downtown San Francisco, I believe, privately funded. The Wolves claim that they can fund one. We'll see on that. I'm very curious.
My final hope in all of sports, Judd, as we begin to close out this edition of Minnesota Sports Chat. By the way, thanks again for making time for me.
Can't wait for my coffee.
I'll get you that. I really hope at some point the LA Chargers wind up back in San Diego. That's one of the worst crimes in all of sports that franchise is playing in Los Angeles. They were the second team there. Los Angeles didn't even want them. They just took them.
No. And San Diego loved them. Yeah, no, absolute crying shame Great jerseys, though. Love those Chargers jerseys.
Oh, they're fantastic. Judd, I saw the Substack today. You talked about I love what you do previewing the announcing crews.
Yeah.
What else is on the Substack page that people can check out if they become one of your supporters, members, Substackers?
Thank you very much. I'm working on a wild column right now. I'm also going to write about the Vikings trade possibilities. And I am also trying to do a more sports TV column once a week. My last one was on the plan for the Twins booth with their new broadcast agreement with MLB, who's in, who's possibly out, and what we're going to see.
I'm looking forward to it. I'll give them my money. Heck, I ended up switching to Fubo last year just so I could find the Twins, which, by the way, I have enjoyed. It's actually really good for my college football viewing. That is Judd Zulgad. Find him on the X Machine, anything SKOR North and Purple Daily related. I am Ross Brendel at the Ross Brendel on the X Machine. Make sure you like and subscribe on YouTube, and no matter how you're listening, tell your family and friends.
Thanks for listening to Minnesota Sports Chat, presented by Beans Coffee Company. Use the promo code SPORTSCHAT. That's one word, Sports Chat, to save at checkout. Follow Ross on X at the Ross Brendel. Like and subscribe to Minnesota Sports Chat wherever you get your podcasts. Rate and review kindly.